Hi card makers, this is Amanda. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. This is my very first video. Today, I'd like to share with you how I store and organize my supplies. Some of these methods have worked out really great for me, and others I'm gonna need your help and suggestions with. The first thing you should know is that I label absolutely everything. I have the Brother T-Touch and it has a power cord, so I no longer go through a ton of batteries. I thought I'd start with colored cardstock first. As you know, Stampin' Up! Has over 50 different colors of cardstock, so what I find works best for me are 2 rolling carts with hanging files. One cart only holds scraps, and the other cart I store my full sheets. This saves me space, my carts are movable, and at a glance I can see if I'm getting low on a color of cardstock and need to reorder soon. About a year ago, I moved my craft room around. I used to keep the cart that stored my full sheets closer to my desk, and so I have piles and piles of scraps in a bin that I need to sort. But I found that if I store my scrap cart next to my desk, then move it while I'm crafting next to my chair, I use my scraps first and can put away the scraps quickly and not throw them in a bin to organize later. I'm so happy with how this works out. It's perfect. When I get a new color of cardstock, I grab a legal size hanging file, a letter size hanging file, and several punches. I take one sheet of paper and punch out 2 label-shaped punches to use in the tabs of the files. I'll show you what I use the other shape punches for later on in this video. This way I have at least one scrap for each colored cardstock I own. For my hanging files, I use the Brother tape with the clear background. This way I can see the color through the name of the cardstock. I organize my hanging files in rainbow order and then I alphabetize them. As you know, Stampin' Up! Releases and retires in colors every year. And to keep my files alphabetized, I was having to move 100 tabs. But I found that if I used the tab section to the far left only for my in colors, I never have to move those plastic tabs again. I just realized this about a year and a half ago, and I was so happy when I did. I bet like me, you use Whisper White or Very Vanilla and black cardstock on almost all of your cards. So I store these 3 colors at easy reach. They are on my wall in an office supply wall file. Then I throw the scraps in my desk drawer. I probably need a better way to store these scraps, but if I put them in a file, then they take up too much space. What have you found that works well for your most used scraps? Okay, true confession time. DSP, the 6x6 and 12x12 paper have always been kind of a sore subject for me. Stampin' Up! Has some truly gorgeous paper, and when I attend a card class, I'm always super amazed with how others use their DSP, especially the sets I didn't think I liked that much, but for some reason, I never use it on my own cards. I love the idea of Love It, Chop It, but I make mostly 5x7 cards, so I just haven't figured out the measurements that work for me yet. The One Sheet Wonder also doesn't work for those of us who make larger size cards. So I order these beautiful papers. Then they just sit there, collecting dust. But I'm so excited to share that the UPS man recently delivered this accordion type folder. And I wasted no time loading it up with my 12x12 paper and the few scraps I have. I plan on keeping it out on my desk. I figure if I see it all the time, maybe I'll start using it. I'll let you know how this works out. I'm ashamed to tell you that I stored my 6x6 paper in a desk drawer, where, surprise, surprise, I didn't use it either. A couple of days ago, I went to Marshall's and picked up this fridge organizer. It's see-through, and it fits all of my 6x6 paper. I plan to keep it out too, so I can see it. But how do I keep and organize my scraps? Please tell me in the comment section below how you store your DSP, especially the scraps. So I have a pain disorder, and everything takes me 4 times longer because of it. And I really shouldn't sit for more than 30 minutes at a time. Because of this, you might find my videos a bit choppy, especially the voiceover. I hope it isn't too noticeable, and you'll be patient with me. The best advice I was given by my pain doctor was that I needed to look at my pain management like a toolbox. Or as I like to think of it, my pain management is like a craft bag with our many supplies, like the stamp sets, our linen thread, Stampin' Seal, hey, which is very strong. I love the new adhesive. Have you tried it? Yeah, sorry, got off topic. We need to use multiple tools to make a fantastic card. And in my life, I need to use many tools to help me keep my pain as low as possible. Several of my pain management tools are medications, muscle relaxers, changing positions often, surgeries, the list goes on. And for a long time, one of my tools was a twofer, distraction and a reason to get out of bed. And that tool has always been card making. But I recently realized that for me, those needed to be two different tools because I haven't been crafting very much. It's extremely easy for me to wake up in the morning, in pain, reach over, and take a muscle relaxer, then go back to bed for 4 more hours. Card making has been and still is a great distraction technique for me. But I need a reason to get out of bed and do something during the day. Creating videos, editing them, and looking forward to seeing and replying to your comments can be a great tool for me to get out of bed and be productive. So I'm asking you to help me by liking, subscribing, ringing that bell thingy, which I don't know what that means, and commenting especially, so I can keep my enthusiasm up and myself out of bed. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's go back to more interesting topics, shall we? Ink blending tools are next. Sponges, daubers, and brushes each create a different blend, and they're used for different techniques. I create a sponge and a dauber for each color ink I have. I know some of you may think this is way over the top, but when I'm creating, I just want my supplies ready to use and where I can find them. Since I find blending brushes to be a bit pricey, I only have one brush for each color family. You know, one for reds, one for pinks, blues, you understand. I keep my brushes in a mug and on my desk. A great and inexpensive way to ink blend is Stampin' Up's round sponges. They come in a 3-pack. I cut each sponge into quarters using large scissors. Now you don't want to use your snips for this. It can dull your blades, make your sponges all wonky and uneven, and you can even possibly injure yourself. Ask me how I know. This is where one of those other punch shapes come into use. I use a retired label punch, my labeler, and a stapler to color code my sponges, but several of our current punches will also work, as well as the oval dies. These labels also create a perfect little handle. I am hoping you have some advice for me. I am really unhappy with how I store these sponges. Currently, I have them in 3 Walmart baskets and in a drawer, which is all that will fit. It isn't really convenient when trying to grab a couple different colors. What have you found to be a good way to store your sponges? For my finger daubers, I have 2 storage trays that I bought on Amazon. I label them and add a sample color with a hole punch. This works great for me. I'm hoping to organize my daubers in rainbow order when I get a few minutes to spare. If you're going to ink blend or watercolor to any extent, you might want to think about picking up reinkers. They are inexpensive and almost last forever. Like many crafters, I label my reinkers with the hole punch color of cardstock on the tip. I use glue dots because, let's face it, they're strong, fast, and then I don't get glue all over my fingers. If you've not already done this, do yourself a favor and take 30 minutes to label your reinkers. It'll save you from having to search through all of them. And if you're anything like me, you'll have to go through absolutely all of them to get the one you want. Unlike my sponges, these baskets from Walmart work perfectly. There's enough room to store all the current colors and in colors, plus 6 open spots for Versamark reinkers, Craft White, Memento, and StazOn. I store my reinkers in rainbow order and keep the retired ones in a different drawer. I use reinkers quite frequently to watercolor, so I like to keep them nearby. Personally, I think Stampin' Up's DVD cases to store stamps is positively ingenious, by far the best way on the market. My stamps are in alphabetical order on a DVD shelf and 2 rotating towers. The towers hold around 140 stamp sets each and were purchased on Amazon for about $40. I think it's a great way to save space too. I keep a large 3-ring binder of all my stamp sets. It too is in alphabetical order. When I get a new stamp set, I remove the title sheet and copy it several times. I place 1 copy in a page protector and then add it to my large binder. I also have several smaller themed binders. For instance, 1 binder for sympathy, 1 for birthdays, 1 for just because, 1 that just has flowers, and so on. This really saves me time when I want to find the perfect stamp. I might have 1 set listed in 4 or more binders, depending on the set. For my dies, I place a 5x7 or a 4x6 adhesive back magnet onto the left side of the stamp case that it belongs to. This way, My stamp sets and dies are together. If a stamp set is too large to have the dies in the same case, I use a second case, label it, and place it next to the stamp set on the shelf. I absolutely love having my stamps and dies together. I store my current punches and the punches I reach for often on bars hung on the wall that I bought from IKEA. For my retired punches, or those that I don't use very often, I have a storage shelf which my husband modified with extra shelves which are approximately 4 inches apart. I store the shelf next to my stamp set. I used to store punches on an over-the-door shoe holder, but for now, this works really well for me. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about embossing folders and the larger items that we use every day but are kind of hard to store. As you know, embossing folders are inexpensive ways to create texture on cards. I keep my new and retired embossing folders in this fridge storage container that I bought at Marshall's. Hey, not only was it a great price, but then I got fridge shop for Raid-On items. I keep my folders in alphabetical order, splitting them into current and retired on 2 rings. As you can see, I label the folder and the sample. See, I told you I label everything. Notice that my sample is the same size as my embossing folder. Since I mostly make A7 cards, I have to use embossing folders in creative ways, and having a sample of the correct size really helps me out. For larger items that are used regularly and that may not fit in a drawer, I use this pot lid holder. It has 8 places to store things like my stamparatus, my trimmer, my mini trimmer, catalogs, things like that. This makes things that I use frequently easy to reach and easy to put away. I sincerely hope that this video gave you some inspiration on how you can organize your tools. And I want to thank you so very much for watching my first video and joining me at the beginning of this new adventure. On this channel, I will be focusing on how to create A7 cards in an A2 world. I hope you will join me for my next video. I am really excited to read your comments and suggestions. Thanks again.